the description. Do check it out. Right, coming to Inside Out. So from Project Reach Out, you went to Desiadda, and from Desiadda, now you have Inside Out. So how did Inside Out start? What was the motivation for you to start Inside Out? You already had two startups.
Correct.
So why Inside Out?
So it was my dad's condition that I have a post-graduation degree for sure before I was too old. And he wanted that at least 3 years after I started Desiadda. And it also aligned with my thoughts because a person told me, one of our first customers told me, there's this author, Malcolm Gladwell, who says, you need to put 10,000 hours into anything that you do for it to become successful, remotely successful. And without putting in the hours, you cannot expect it. So on an average, assuming 10 hours of a working day, 3 years would make it around 1,000 hours. 10,000 hours, right? So 1,000 days and 10 hours a day would make it 10. So it was the right time to do an MBA after that period when I had kind of streamlined Desiadda's operations. It's still something that requires a lot of attention, but more or less the team was able to take care of things, and they were quite supportive and really very much instrumental in helping me enter an MBA education, which was a full-time program and not an executive one, which would be completed in a year. So once I was there, I met wonderful classmates, of course, in an MBA sort of an ecosystem. And then after my first year, we did an internship in Bangalore. And during that internship with a multinational company, we figured there was a lot of drawbacks in how they were doing their marketing. Since my majors was marketing, my internship also was in marketing. And they put me in an ecosystem where I needed to understand the difference between the sales of the product in offline stores versus online, and why the online segment was doing better than the offline segment. And during that research, I found out there was a lot of gaps that could have been filled effectively by certain digital tools and social media approaches that was there. I had a 3-month internship during which time I learned quite a bit about what the problems were that the multinational was facing. And of course, during my Desiadda journey, also I had worked with 2-3 vendors in working on my website and my social media, and every time it felt more like an expenditure without any results. And it was a wasteful exercise that I kept changing websites, kept changing strategies, posters, ideas. And every time I went, there was a new idea they gave. So it felt like it was no use. So, so there was a market for it where someone could actually give measurable outcomes and results. It was a problem faced by me, a small startup in Mysore, and it was a problem faced by a multinational that I did. And my core was marketing that I did. And then I went to Portugal for an student exchange program from Myra for about 4 months, during which time I did the strategy and marketing and consumer behavior and innovation courses there. And it further re-emphasized the idea that, hey, I could do this. So I had the idea, I had the bad experiences. I knew there was a good demand at the upper levels also, and I had the skills and competency to do it. But that was just not enough, because digital marketing requires a good amount of team. And I found wonderful classmates here who shared complementary skills. So 4 of us decided, let's do something. And that's how we decided we would do something. But then in the final year, there was a professor who came to teach entrepreneurship here. And he wanted to present some idea. And then I said, well, there's Desiadda. And I had then started a t-shirt company also to produce custom t-shirts. And I said, let's also do an online part. Desiadda does offline marketing. Let's do online marketing. We put together a pitch and everything. And we presented. And it worked between the 4 of us. We thought we could do a really good job. And that's how Inside Out came into existence. Very logically and relatable again.
Right. I mean, your life is kind of connected, I believe. Everything is connected to anything. Right. And I mean, to be very honest, getting into a digital system has, I think, changed a lot of businesses, and the way we look at businesses, the way we look at brands, the way we look at personalities for that matter. And since you are in the same domain, can you give our viewers a few tips to how can people brand themselves online, and why do they have to brand themselves online? Any tips?
That's a good question, and even though I think about it now, I think the 4 of us who I said were the founders of this organization. Most of the
Mm.
business to our brands come from our own networks and our own brands, even
Mm.
at this point. So for any
Right.
early stage startup or any entrepreneur, personal
Mm.
network is the most important thing which brings
Correct.
business. And your company brand is built by your personal brand. And then later on, a while later, the company represents you. But initial
Correct.
stages, you are the company and you need to contribute to the
Mm.
company. So building your brand is extremely essential. And your brand, meaning who you are as a person, meaning are you trustworthy, are you dependable for people, are you creative, are you skilled, are you competent, and
Mm.
you being representative of a few of these adjectives will bring business to you. And you
Mm.
need to tell the world that you are all of that. And you can tell that only by telling stories, because nothing is more
Correct.
powerful than any story told anywhere. Um,
Correct.
so you need to always be there in the now, and that doesn't mean the industry jargon that they use of fake it till you make it. It's not that way. You cannot do that. You need to keep making yourself up until you make it. There's
Correct.
step incremental process that
Mm.
happens, and hence I think personal branding is very important. Where you
Right.
realistically show it. You go to an event,
Mm.
you network with people, or you be on events like this, the podcast that we're doing now, or be a part
Right.
of the groups that you are creating and people like you are building. There's an awesome ecosystem in Mysore and
Right.
elsewhere also. There's Thai, CII, Young Indians, and KDM, and STEP, and so many other entities, all of which is really piecing things together. So
Mm.
by being part of most of these forums, by networking with like-minded people, you really do things which takes you in the right direction, and then you actually talk about it online. It's as simple as
Correct.
that. It's not about constantly sharing only positive stories, but it's
Mm.
about going the journey and building a brand for yourself, where you also tell stories of where you went wrong, or what guided you in the right direction, or what you did right, or what you wish you didn't do, things like that. And so that's one part of how you build your brand, by sharing real stories and by actually making real efforts to network
Mm.
and build your brand. So I think that's one tip that I would like to provide.
Right. Right. So on a whole, try to tell your stories, be a part of online, offline communities, keep networking, share not just positive things, also negative things. I mean, negative in the sense your downfall, share it with people, be a part of all these communities, and probably that's how an entrepreneur or probably a budding student can grow as well. Right. So I think I'm done with most of the questions. Let's talk about your core entrepreneurial journey. Okay. So these are going to be the last set of questions. So tell us more about, I mean, any entrepreneur who's starting anything will definitely face a lot of ups and downs. And I am sure you would have faced a lot of ups and downs. Tell us more about your ups and downs. Tell us more about your milestones and how did you overcome these obstacles, overcome these downs. So just tell us more about that.
Yeah. I think the first down that I told was the part when we completely did not get any orders for a long amount
Mm.
of, for a long duration. And at
Right.
that point, it was helpless on what to do. Right.
Mm.
When you start, the biggest problem is how are you going to pay people? And at that point, one by one, the team started dissociating
Mm.
because, of course, we couldn't get revenue, means you can't pay people. And when you
Correct.
don't aren't able to, people leave. Of course,
Correct.
everybody has a better opportunity these
Correct.
days, and really that's the way it is, and that's good. So at that point of time was when the first problem was, and then I
Mm.
hurried to get an investment at that point of
Mm.
time from a seed fund, and then we got a little bit of investment, and then I could was able to retain a certain people and build something. But at that point, I feel the investments I personally made were not really good. I spent
Mm.
quite a lot on the look and feel of the store, on
Right.
how the interiors were, and how the presentation was more than the
Mm.
product itself. Rather,
Mm.
now I would say, spending half of the money on interiors and the other half on the product would rather be a bad idea than a not so great interior and great product. So that was
Mm.
another downfall where I focused on the flashy appearance of things. Though people say it's kind of tempting when you see a little bit of more money to do all that, and I had a challenge then. And later I had challenges when I set up a store on Chamundi Hill Road where I had no clue about the kind of unforeseen expenditures that would occur in terms of commissions, in terms of cutthroat competition that is there in this industry where they do a 400-500% markup and they pay 40-50% incentive for people who bring referrals and all that. I was not even having 100% markup. In fact, I was not even having a 30% margin on the product. So
Right.
all of that, kind of kept pushing me down, down, down. And like, why am I doing this? What am I doing? Am I just a credit agency where people cannot pay in time, so they come to me because I give them a 30-day credit period? Did I just become a kind of an entity with a 30-day credit period? Uh, because that was the only reason why people came to me, I felt. But then later on, when we
Hmm.
uh, after you go through a lot of downs, there comes a spark when you've been beaten down fully. You realize, okay, things are going to change, and
Correct.
that change was we shifted the store from there to behind my house,
Okay.
where I started behind
Hmm.
the house and I came back behind the house, where the overheads were much lesser, where the
Hmm.
interiors was not flashy, where products were all stacked up, and people came and they really felt, it was genuine. Because when
Hmm.
somebody sees your product in a big store, they think you have an appetite to bear the
Correct.
discounts, to bear the
Correct.
credit points,
Hmm.
when actually you aren't. So appearance is not all. You need to be able to grow in the way you need to, because nothing other than organic growth can explain your or can sustain you, right?
Hmm.
So then things started to work out a little better because the commitments were not so much that was hurting my own self.
Hmm.
Um, and then being too hands-on also was a very difficult thing. I did
Hmm.
that mistakes once, and even in Inside Out, I was doing that mistakes by wanting to micromanage everything. But I have good,
Right.
trustworthy friends and partners here who say, "Hey, you're doing this too much. Hands off a
Hmm.
little bit. Let it go. Let people do it on their own." So when I went to college, in fact, they said I did much better because my people, the team really did a great job. And
Hmm.
for any business, right, trusting your team is the most important thing.
Correct.
Giving enough autonomy and
Correct.
really giving them autonomy and not interfering with everything is
Correct.
a core lesson that I have learned. And
Right.
also knowing how much to stretch yourself and not
Hmm.
really push yourself too much to do something where it breaks you down and where you cannot focus, where you lose sight of why you're doing something. All of these things are part of an entrepreneur's journey.
Correct.
So to summarize, I would say don't do inorganic growth. Believe in investing wisely. If today
Hmm.
I see if I got an X sum of money, I would invest in products which are the assets of the company. But
Right.
even then, there is a shelf life of things, right? So I buy a product and then people lose interest or it stops being trendy. What do I do with the product, right?
Hmm.
So managing finances is kind of a very important understanding. And I've seen a lot of student pictures and college ideas nowadays. People have wonderful ideas, but they don't know
Hmm.
what to do with money. Everybody follows the Shark Tank model of saying, I'm going to value my company at 10 crores. I need 1%. I give you 1%.
Hmm.
So give me 10 lakhs. It doesn't work. I mean, what are you going to do
Correct.
with the money that you get? It's really difficult to plan what you're going to do with sum of money. So
Correct.
financial management and
Hmm.
knowing where to stop yourself, having a strong pillar where you say, why did I start this? And always relying on that and having yourself surrounded by good friends who tell you you're doing something wrong and being
Hmm.
open to hear criticism and take constructive measures and not really jump at people who say, hey, I'm an entrepreneur. I know what to do. Why you to tell me? That's not the thing. And trusting your teammates with autonomy and knowing that your team is responsible for your growth and you cannot really grow all by yourself. I think these are some 6 tips that I would like to provide.
Superb, superb. Your ups and downs story is itself very insightful for our viewers. And
Yeah.
the thing you told about the team, which is really important because pushing. I faced this because I used to push my team a lot, and I used to micromanage a lot, and I lost a bunch of my teammates just because the way I used to handle them, and so I can also relate with your story. But yeah, I mean, I think it's all a learning for us. We are
It is, I mean, I'm
learning
still
with
learning.
every day.
Even though I say I don't do micromanage, even today I feel when something goes wrong, I have to step in.
Correct.
And that thing will always be there, but you need to let go of it little by
Correct.
little. You can't do it all at once.
Right. Okay. So I mean, a lot of insightful tips that you've given us. One last question. Okay, so you run three organizations. How do you manage time? I wish that I have more than 24 hours with just having one startup, but you run three startups. How do you manage time?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. In fact, the straightforward answer is I'm a pretty bad at it because
Okay.
there is always a compromise that happens. There's only two sides to thing, like they say work life, right? So it contributes. So for me, work equals life. Like they say, kaya kave kailas. I'm kind of that, and it does strain somewhere on the
Mm,
personal side of things where you don't spend enough time
mm,
with your family. Where my sleep is cut down to 4 or 5 hours a day, where my
mm,
food cycle is fully erratic,
mm,
where I skip lunch or I skip breakfast. I just sleep and then wake up and then run to the office of sorts. I still sometimes do that, and I'm trying to improve myself over there. But the
mm,
only real answer there is to surround yourself with a great team. So because
mm.
I have good partners, I'm able to at least live some somewhat of a balanced life. But as the team grows, as the team becomes more and more stronger in terms of taking leadership roles and being self-governed, that's when you can start balancing things. Nobody can do things without a strong team, and
Correct.
a team is again to be built with purpose and not just based on the money that you might
Mm,
provide in terms of their
correct.
compensation. It's about believing in a purpose, believing that they're suited for it, and it aligning with their passion, and them taking ownership of actions and responsibility for their actions is only when you will start able to manage things.
Super. And in this whole process, have you ever felt like giving up?
I mean, yes, initial days I have many times felt, but then I always jump back to my purpose of why I'm doing this. And I was also considering the other side of, am I still eligible to get a job in the
Mm,
market in case things go south, even after 6, 7 years
correct.
of starting? That question will always be running at the back of your mind. And now I'm more than happy because I have a good team of 30 people, and now I don't
Mm,
think those thoughts. But there was a time when I was thinking those thoughts, and every time I kept saying, do I still relate to the purpose, and am I still eligible to get a job? And the answer has been yes, I'm still eligible, and yes, I still want to continue. Okay, do it.
right.
So I think
Great.
one of my professors
Mm,
defined this thing, and I keep saying it in many cases.
mm,
The true meaning of passion, and
mm,
passion is not what I want to do. It's nothing in the curve. It's not thing on top. It's the thing on
mm,
bottom. How much am I willing to bear to do what I want to do? And that bottom
mm.
part is passion, not the top part.
Amazing. Amazing.
Okay.
Super. Right. So I think it's time to wrap up the podcast. Thank you so much, Adarsh, for giving your time. I know how busy you are. Thank you so much for guiding our viewers. And also, one more thing, folks. I think all of you would have observed how Adarsh stressed on having the right team. So that is basically the problem we are trying to solve at Inovact. So do download the application. You will be exposed to a lot of teams working on amazing projects. You will also be able to network and connect with mentors with a lot of experience. So don't forget to download the application. We are definitely open for feedback and inputs. And also, I have also put the description for Adarsh's LinkedIn profile. So if there is anything you want to discuss with him or connect with him, you guys can go and network with him. Anything else that Adarsh, would you like to say something to the viewers?
Yeah, so I think just want to talk about your initiative and how exciting it is, and I'm also a continuous part in your initiative, and I'm not here just for one talk and then be done with it. Of sorts, I'll be there continuously anytime anybody wants any guidance or anybody wants to guide me also in whatever the problems I'm facing. I would like to
Mm.
interact, know everybody, right? The entrepreneurial ecosystem is thriving and growing, and there's so much we can all do together. So this is not just a one-off exercise. I will be continuing to associate with Innovact for all the initiatives that you do, and of course, always there to learn and to also enable anybody who wants anything from me.
Super. Thank you so much, Adarsh. And that is it for now, folks. We will meet next week. This is your host, Sarang, signing off. We will meet next week with one story at a time. Bye bye.
Thank you, Sarah. Have a nice day.